Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Washington and is all set to begin a series of crucial meetings and bilaterals in the United States. Shortly, Prime Minister Modi will be meeting a number of top executives of major American companies in Washington, including the heads of Qualcomm, Adobe, Blackstone, General Atomics and First Solar. Later in the day, Prime Minister Modi will hold crucial bilateral meetings. He will first be meeting Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. Next, the Indian Prime Minister will be meeting US Vice President Kamala Harris, who traces her roots to India. Referring to his first meeting with Harris, Prime Minister Modi said he was looking forward to the talks and to exploring opportunities for cooperation, particularly in the area of science and technology. They had earlier spoken by telephone in June. Prime Minister Modi will hold his last bilateral for the day with Japanese Prime Minister Suga. Friday will be a crucial day for the Prime Minister and India's strategic relationship with the US. Prime Minister Modi is going to hold a bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden. Sources say that Afghanistan and issues related to South Asia will be discussed during the meeting. This will be Prime Minister Modi's first in-person meeting with Biden after the US President took office in January. The two have interacted several times virtually and via phone, but this is their first face-to-face meeting since Biden won the presidential elections. Later on Friday, Prime Minister Modi will take part in the Quad's first in-person summit. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue Partnership includes India, the United States, Australia and Japan. The leaders are set to review progress made since the first virtual summit held in March this year. Sources say that the Quad conversation will revolve around a number of issues of common interest. Discussions on China could be a priority, sources say. Earlier today, upon his arrival at the airport, he was received by US Department of State officials and India's ambassador to the United States. The Prime Minister stepped out of his motorcade to interact with the diaspora waiting at the airport. A crowd of ecstatic Indian Americans arrived at the Joint Base Andrews to welcome Prime Minister Modi. Despite heavy rains, they were seen chanting his name and waving the Indian flag.
I'm here to see my beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. We are so excited. We don't mind staying in the rain. We are just excited to see him and welcome him. Modi we love you, Modi ji.
I am so honored and proud to be here to welcome the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. Cannot wait for stronger ties between the United States and India on the whole.
I'm here to greet Mr. Modi ji, and this is my fourth time coming here and greeting him. But kind of overall, we are looking forward to him, his arrival and his speech at UN. We are looking at what he's going to talk about. And since he had become Prime Minister, India had progressed last, and Indo-American relationship had improved, and that's what we want to continue.
Let's go live now to WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sabal, who is joining us from Washington, D.C. Any moment now, Prime Minister Modi will begin his meeting with American business representatives. What's on the agenda and what kind of an outcome do we expect from this meeting?
Well, yes, in about 15 to 20 minutes time, the Indian Prime Minister will be meeting the CEO, the top American CEOs. It includes 2 Indian American CEOs as well, and some mix of companies. We know the name like Qualcomm and Adobe, but largely when it comes to India-US relationship in terms of trade, economics, the focus is that there should be more engagement. We know that under Trump administration, both countries were working on a mini trade deal, but that of course could not happen. Now of course focus is that there can be more engagement. We know that when it comes to energy import, India has increased its energy import from United States. Also remember that both countries are working on the Indo-Pacific, the businesses in Indo-Pacific. The focus remains on making sure that when it comes to India's own domestic program, the Make in India project. There are more American companies present there. So essentially, the conversation will be about bringing more investment to India and manufacturing of more products, American products in India under the Make in India project.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Prime Minister Modi's bilaterals with Japanese Prime Minister Suga and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. These meetings come amid a row over the AUKUS Pact. What implications could the meetings have on the Indo-Pacific region?
Well, yes, the AUKUS Pact has had its shadow over many bilateral relationships, and there were in fact worries over Quad as well. Something that has been dismissed by the Indian Foreign Secretary, saying that the Quad is a different grouping. It is a diplomatic initiative. AUKUS is a security pact. But if you look at the bilaterals with the Australian side, both countries have been engaging. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison had spoken to the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just hours before AUKUS was to be announced. That is essentially to keep the Indian side in loop. And of course, it's a major confidence measure as well, telling your partners that they are going to come up with this important pact. And there are, of course, no surprises for anyone. About Japan, as you asked, we know that the relationship has been working on infrastructure, connectivity. India's first bullet train is being built by the Japanese. The leadership from Japan wanted to come to India, but they are facing their own domestic difficulties. But if we can talk about the previous Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we know that how both leaders have been meeting in Ahmedabad, in Varanasi. The visuals still being remembered. The visuals, of course, were very colorful visual, including a roadshow for the then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Ahmedabad.
Well, thank you so much for joining us live from Washington. That was WION senior diplomatic correspondent reporting live on Prime Minister Modi's trip to Washington. Earlier today, Prime Minister Modi made his way to the historic hotel, the Willard, where he will be staying while he's in Washington, D.C. The Willard is a luxury hotel located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. It's a 200-year-old hotel. Since 1853, every U.S. president has been to the hotel. The 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, stayed at the hotel before his inauguration. It's also the same hotel where Martin Luther King stayed before delivering his iconic speech, I Have a Dream.
Well, the Prime Minister will be staying at a place which is part and parcel of American history. This is the place where Prime Minister will be staying, and this has played a crucial role when it comes to the American history as well. If you can see a plaque, if my camera person can show you the plaque behind me, that plaque signifies the role it has played in the American Civil War. We also know that many presidents have used this hotel, including Lincoln.
The hotel has numerous luxurious guest rooms and several restaurants. WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhan Sibal, had a conversation with the management of the hotel. Do listen in.
Any one event which happened in this hotel, other than the linkages with the American Civil War, that changed the course of history, or something that was the big story of the day? Anything you can talk about?
Martin Luther King Jr. When he actually was about to give his speech, I Have a Dream speech that's so world-renowned. He was a guest in the hotel. He was in the lobby, and his speech writers suggested and recommended to him that he do not give that speech. No. Well, he went to the lobby right inside the hotel, and he went ahead and he did his finishing touches. 10 minutes before, he walked right on over to the Lincoln Memorial, where he gave that world-renowned, iconic speech of I Have a Dream speech. Okay. That's one that I can definitely mention for sure.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.